With the recent announcement of the long-awaited sequel to both Spider-Man PS4 and Spider-Man Miles Morales, there has been a lot of discussion and a lot of theorizing about what we're going to see from this 2023 entry into the Spider-Man franchise. Of course, we already know a decent amount of what the sequel is going to entail. A return of Peter Parker, this time with a different face, an emphasis on Norman Osborn, an inclusion of Kraven the Hunter, a full-on Iron Spider suit, as well as, of course, the biggest reveal of all, Venom. Venom. What a shit song. That's right, we are finally going to see Venom in a game. Except for Spider-Man 2000, and Ultimate Spider-Man, and Spider-Man 3, and Spider-Man Friend or Foe, and Web of Shadows, TASM 2 had Carnage as well. Okay, so we've seen this character a lot. But with Insomniac's established Spider-Man universe, we're about to see a whole new spin on Venom, which despite undoubtedly being comic accurate, will be entirely unique to this universe. And today, I wanted to talk about how I would incorporate this iconic symbiote into Spider-Man 2, because to me, this one villain presents an amazing opportunity both from a gameplay and narrative perspective. Let's just get this out of the way first though. Although I'll cover aspects of the story I want to see, this is by no means a full-on fan narrative prediction, although if you want to see that, make sure to comment down below because I am willing to write that. And on top of that, I am not at all claiming to be a better writer than those at Insomniac. I just adore these games and adore these characters. Before we begin, it would really mean a lot to me if you could hit like, and if you're new here and end up enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe with post notifications turned on, because, you know, you don't want to miss any other videos like it. And without further ado, let's take a look at how Spider-Man 2 should do Venom. Before we can jump straight to the story of the symbiote though, we need some setup, because to me, Venom should be kept similarly to Doc Ock in the original as a true final villain in this game, not showing up until at least the midpoint. So in that case, we need to fill in the first couple acts, and we do that by further building the relationship between Miles and Peter, more specifically by connecting the two through gameplay. Ideally, this would be done by having a GTA 5-esque dual protagonist system, in which the player can dynamically switch from Miles to Peter on the fly, depending on the situation they're in, the specific skill sets or gadgets they need, or just because you want to wear some different suits. This way, the two's relationship can gain a deeper level of connection that the player feels throughout the first act, and we can truly feel how the two complement each other as well as being their own independent heroes. As for the story itself, I see this first act focused on Kraven the Hunter, who, I don't know, has been hired by Norman Osborn to kill Spider-Man for some reason. Again, I'm not writing the whole story, but comment down below if you want to see it. Essentially, we'd see Peter and Miles be attacked by Kraven the Hunter, who takes them completely off guard and essentially annihilates the both of them, leading them to do some research into who this guy is and why he's so set on taking them out. Of course, this would be backed up by other side plots, Peter's grief about Aunt May, Miles' grief about Finn, etc, etc. But the main thread here would be Peter researching Kraven, which, at around the halfway point in the game, would lead him to find Norman Osborn's office, and of course, Harry, draped up in a vat of a black liquidy substance. However, instead of having Venom bond to Harry straight away, Peter first tries to get him out of his predicament. However, without that preservation, it's clear that Harry won't last too long. Harry during this entire scene would of course stay unconscious, with Peter opening his glass container before realizing he needs to leave his best friend there to survive. However, by opening the container, Peter lets some of the mysterious black goo out of its cage, and it latches onto his leg just as he swings away. The idea here is that the symbiote in this game would have the same characteristics of that in Spider-Man 3. No, that doesn't mean it gives Peter an edgelord fringe, but it does mean that the symbiote doesn't need to be together at all times, and on top of that, it can naturally grow and expand. And so as the midpoint of the game hits, Peter's overrun with the symbiote, as it covers the majority of his advanced suit and leaves him unconscious. From here, we get a chance to play with the fully empowered Venom version of Spider-Man, with his near decade of experience being boosted by increased strength, agility, awareness, and ruthlessness, something which could easily be reflected in the gameplay and would form a power fantasy for the player that mimics the allure of the suit that Peter feels. But of course, as the game goes on, we would see the suit change Peter. Miles and MJ would notice him becoming more aggressive, less empathetic, and less dedicated to his moral code. We would see him severely wound his enemies, his victims. We see him use his grief for Aunt May not as motivation to be better, but as an excuse to take his pain out on the world. And ideally, this would all lead to a collapse of Miles and Peter's partnership, as Miles sees his mentor go too far and push him away, to the point where we'd see a Spider-Man vs Spider-Man boss battle, one that Miles would undoubtedly lose, but one that would have a massive emotional weight behind it. Peter, of course, would eventually end up seeing the error of his ways, potentially involving some kind of flashback to his aunt and uncle, before tearing off his black suit and leaving it to inhabit his childhood best friend. Which would be pretty in character considering that outside of comics, Peter Parker has pretty much treated Harry Osborn like complete shit. I mean, he was just gonna let his childhood best friend die. Like that was a thing in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Peter was just gonna, yeah, I'm not giving you my blood, lol, just die.
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
On top of all that, hopefully we'll see Insomniac incorporate the Green Goblin, actual Venom, along with a whole host of other members of Spider-Man's insane rogues gallery. And like I said, maybe one day I'll go in depth about the entire story I want to see in this game. But for now, this is the one thing I'm focused on, because the opportunity Insomniac has here to use Venom both in gameplay and story, it could result in one of the most emotional Spidey tales of all time. But that is just my opinion, and I'm sure plenty of people out there will have a different one, especially considering there's about a million different Spider-Man opinions on the internet. So if you agree with me or disagree with me, let me know why in the comments down below. How do you want to see Venom incorporated into this game? And are you excited for Marvel Spider-Man 2? I fucking hope you are. I mean, if you weren't, then it would be weird that you're still watching this video. If you did enjoy, like I said, it would really be appreciated if you could hit like, and if you're new here and want to see more content like this, hit subscribe with post notifications turned on so you don't miss another video. If you want to support the channel, my Patreon link is in the description. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram just for shits and giggles. And with all that being said, I've been Joe, aka Founder Scarab, and I will see you in the next one. Also, apologies, because it's been so long since I've uploaded, because I moved into university. That's why all the walls are bare. Like, remember my poster wall? The poster wall's gone. I can't put posters up on the wall. It's so sad, it's heartbreaking. But we move.